So, Jon Ossoff, you are running for Senate in Georgia, and your opponent is the incumbent Senator David Perdue, and he didn't show up for your final debate a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what happened?
Well, those of you tuning in, and hey everybody, by the way, and hey everyone, throw down in the comments, if you will, that folks in Georgia can text vote to 51015. Drop that in the comments, text it to your friends. If you're in Georgia, you can text vote to 51015 to get your polling place. But y'all may have seen that Senator Perdue and I debated in Savannah, Georgia, mid last week. And I asked Senator Perdue some questions about his record on healthcare and the pandemic. And he didn't have answers to those questions. And he didn't like being asked those questions. I mean, this is a guy who probably hasn't had a tough, critical question asked directly to his face in years. And so he decided to just pull out of our final debate, which is not what, an incumbent U.S. senator who's feeling confident about their prospects does. He's too afraid to face his opponent in an open forum, and I think that the people are going to punish him for that at the polls.
Did he or his office give you any indication or reason why, or they just like straight up canceled and you found out via the news?
So they claimed that it was so he could go and attend a Trump rally, but we know for a fact that the station offered a bunch of other times to accommodate his schedule. And I was ready to go anytime, any place. So he just didn't want to debate. And that doesn't reflect too well on him. Again, you would expect a sitting senator. In fact, I was just out, President Obama was down here yesterday rallying Democrats, and we did a rally together. And, President Obama was saying, if you're a sitting senator and you're too afraid to face your opponent, if here's the bottom line. If David Perdue doesn't want to face tough questions and scrutiny and criticism, that's fine. He just shouldn't run for re-election. He should retire.
I did see President Obama at this rally yesterday calling Senator Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler out for their shady behavior, talking about how they were downplaying the pandemic in public, but maybe trying to profit off of it in private. So can you explain what those allegations are, what we know about them?
So the very same day that the Senate got a classified briefing on COVID-19 back in January. This is when the public was in the dark. This is when our government was just beginning to get across what was going on. The very same day the Senate got that classified briefing, my opponent, Senator Perdue, bought stock in a manufacturer of protective medical equipment. Over the next several weeks, he dumped his casino shares. He bought stock in a producer of vaccines. All the while, he was telling the public that COVID-19 was no deadlier than the ordinary flu, that the impact on our economy would be little. I mean, he was looking after his own portfolio while he was misleading us about one of the most significant threats to our health and prosperity in generations. And then he was maybe one of two senators who actually opposed a single $1,200 stimulus check for working people. He was out there leading the charge to cut unemployment insurance in the middle of the pandemic when millions of Georgians had filed jobless claims. This dude does not care about regular people, is the bottom line. And he needs to go. And if y'all are out there in Georgia, and look, young people, I know if you're tuned in on this channel, you probably pay a pretty good amount of attention to current affairs and politics, but you got to get your friends out there. There are still young people who haven't voted, who haven't gone out to the polls. Take time today. Take several hours today, if you can, to text everybody. Stay on them. Make the case. Persuade them. This has to be a bottom-up, grassroots, movement-style turnout effort unlike anything in American history, y'all. So I'm grateful to you for the opportunity to be here, and I just want to make sure that everybody out there is doing everything that we can, leaving it all on the field today, because we still have hours where we control our own destiny. Until the polls close, our future remains in our hands.
It's a full day. It feels like because of so much early voting and mail-in voting that, election day is finally here and people want to get results today, but there's a full day to go of voter turnout. And I understand you'll be going to some polling places today in Georgia.
Yeah, we're going to roll out soon and I think visit 4 or 5 different polling locations. And just encourage folks who are in line and thank them for participating and do some interviews. But it's got to be all of us. I mean, we can take nothing for granted. We're in the midst of a crisis that's taking hundreds of thousands of lives, and hundreds of thousands more may lose their lives unnecessarily if we do not replace this government, which doesn't care about our health, doesn't have a plan to control COVID-19. We're led by people who are just out for themselves. We got this narcissist in the White House, these, stock trading duo. What did President Obama call him yesterday? I think he called him the Batman and Robin gone bad, representing Georgia in the Senate, looking after their own stock portfolios. As my friend Reverend Warnock, who's running in the other Senate race in Georgia, remember we got 2 Senate races in Georgia, sheltering their assets while we were sheltering in place. What brazen, flagrant, blatant corruption, and the only remedy for it is to vote.
It does look like we've got some Georgia voters in the comments, so if you guys have questions for Jon Ossoff, please let us know. With Obama being down there yesterday, it seems like Democrats think you have a pretty good chance in Georgia. So how are you feeling about your chances, Warnock's chances, and Biden's chances in Georgia?
Well, look, y'all know that Stacey Abrams lost the governor's race by just 50,000 votes 2 years ago. We've added 800,000 new voters to the rolls since then. Georgia becomes younger and more diverse, literally by the hour. Voters are turning out in record numbers. We're seeing absolutely record-shattering turnout among young voters and voters of color to demand action to control this pandemic, to demand a new Civil Rights Act and a new Voting Rights Act and criminal justice reform, reform of policing, action to save our environment, action to make sure that every family can afford health care. Here in Georgia, we've lost 9 rural hospitals in the last 10 years. There's so much concern across this state about access to health care. And it's an inspiring thing to see, but turnout is high across the board. And so we can't just look at high turnout and take anything for granted. And everybody needs to vote, vote, vote today. So please, y'all, looking forward to answering your questions in the comments. But most of all, what I want to just humbly urge everybody to do is to take some time today to get out the vote. Make phone calls. You can sign up to do it on my campaign website, electjon.com. Text your friends, email your friends. If you got a cousin or a classmate or somebody you know who is maybe iffy on voting today, stay on them until you know they've got a plan to get out. They got to be at the polls by 7 p.m. tonight.
I saw some people down in Harris County, Texas yesterday were challenging people to text your ex and check if they voted as well. So that's
right. This is that opportunity to, rekindle that conversation that's been dormant for a while. Yeah.
Exactly. One thing that's intimidating for people are the long lines that we often see in Georgia, especially in minority communities. And I saw some reports about maybe malfunctioning machines in Fulton County yesterday. So what should people know about how they can protect their vote? Is there a hotline that they can call? And just for people who are worried about suppression.
There is a voter protection hotline, and I'm going to get that from my team in a moment and read it out to everybody. And I'll have someone on my team throw it into the comments as well. But the bottom line is that voter suppression is a reality in Georgia. We see in particular that Black voters are often made to wait outrageous lengths of time in line, that as population growth in Democratic strongholds has continued, new precincts haven't been opened. It's why we need a new Voting Rights Act to secure the franchise for all people here. But in the meantime, the only way we're going to elect political leaders who will pass a new Voting Rights Act is to get out and vote today. And that voter protection hotline is 888-730-5816. So if you're in Georgia, one more time, if you're in Georgia and you have any issues today at the polls, the number to call is 888-730-5816.
Thank you. Somebody did just ask if you're supporting a Green New Deal or what climate change legislation you might support if elected.
I don't support the Green New Deal. What I support is a historic infrastructure and clean energy program that will include massive investments in clean energy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, transition to renewable energy, help us both create jobs and reduce our carbon emissions, while at the same time reestablishing American leadership toward a stronger international climate treaty that will also impose binding emission reduction obligations on China and India. So, the Paris Agreement was a good step in the right direction, but it didn't go far enough, especially because we've also got to make sure that other major polluting countries like China and India are equally bound to reduce their own emissions.
Now, there is a chance of the 2 Senate races in Georgia going to a runoff. Your setup is a little bit different than it is in other states. So can you explain to people how that works?
Right. So in Georgia, we do have a rule that you got to clear 50% to win the seat. That's unlike most states. In most states for federal races, the plurality winner secures the seat. Here, you got to clear 50 to avoid a runoff. So we're doing everything that we can to reach that 50% threshold today. And that is why it is so important that everybody get out to the polls. Get out to the polls today, y'all. We can't take another 4 years of Donald Trump. He is running this country into the ground. We have a pandemic that is spiraling out of control. Hospitalizations, cases, and deaths are increasing across the country. This is going to continue to devastate our health. It's going to continue to destroy small businesses and keep people out of work and disrupt education and disrupt every aspect of our lives until we get political leaders who will empower doctors and scientists to control and contain this virus.
Maybe we can get one more question before you
Sure.
have the polls. I know you're very busy. Somebody asked what your plan is for resolving student debt or helping out students with college affordability.
So I don't think you should have to take on a penny of debt to get a college degree from either a public college or from an HBCU, historically black college and university. Not a penny of debt. Education should be about expanding our opportunity. You shouldn't come out of a 4-year college degree program, from UGA here in Georgia or Georgia State or a public college somewhere else in the country with decades of debt to pay down. And by the same token, I think the vocational training, technical school, job training should simply be free, and in many cases paid. We want everybody to be able to pursue their dreams and not to then take on decades and decades and tens of thousands of dollars of debt to get that degree. And we also need a generous forgiveness program for those who have already taken on massive student loan debt, so that anybody who's struggling financially isn't being further burdened by their student loans.
Jon, thank you so much for your time. As a final question, why is it important for Democrats to flip the Senate and not just take the presidency?
Well, I mean, look, not only, as you know, does the Senate make laws, the Senate also confirms federal judges. I mean, right now, Roe v. Wade, the Affordable Care Act, the Civil Rights Act, and the Voting Rights Act are all under attack in federal courts. So we need to win the United States Senate, not just so that we can legislate in the public interest and invest in clean energy and strengthen voting rights and civil rights laws, but also so that we can make sure that the judges on federal courts are going to impartially uphold the rule of law and defend the public interest and not pursue a partisan ideological agenda. We need judges who will defend the privacy of women's health care, who will uphold vital civil rights and voting rights legislation, who will uphold the Affordable Care Act and its protections for pre-existing conditions. And, that is why the Senate is so important.
Thank you again for your time. I mean, I've done a couple of these now, and this is definitely the highest number of questions we've ever gotten for people from the comments. I know there's a lot of interest in your race. So we look forward to following results tonight and over the next few days.